everybody. Maseches Metzia daf lamed beis omud beis. Yeah. So we are learning the inyan of Tzar Balechaim. We're learning the inyan of Prika v'Te'ina, unloading and loading your friend's animal in order to help your friend, and also possibly in order to help the animal. That's a discussion. Do we believe that Tzar Balechaim is the Raisa, or and the source, according to Rashi, is from here? The source is the Raisa from Tzar Balechaim. The source is from the story from the halacha of Perika, unloading one's animal. The animal is suffering. It could be, it's about to die, to be injured at least, and because it's too heavy, the burden, and when you unload it, then you're helping both person, and possibly it's also because you help the animal that the Torah requires that. But we're not sure about that. In other words, the Gemara knows that there's a concept called Tar Ba'alechaim. The question is this the Oraisa, and this is a source, or maybe it's just the Rabbanon, and you don't have a source from over here. And if Tzar B'Chaim is the Rabbanon, then you do not you do not have to help your friend's suffering animal. It's nice if you do, but there's no halachic obligation. If it's the Rabbanon, you only have to take care of your own animal or not cause suffering to others. But to be toreach, says the Tosfos Rosh, and to actually go out of your way, stop your work day and everything to help prevent suffering from someone else's animal, there may not be such a chiyuv. Yeah, that's if it's the Rabbanon. So now we're trying to bring proofs back and forth. We end the line starting the word masa'oi. Line starts of the word masa'oi, which is more or less in the middle of the narrow lines of Lamed Beis Amud Beis. Today, by the way, should be the second to last year of this parak, because we have to get to the next Mishnah, do the whole Inyan in one shvung. Tomorrow, Metzia Hashem, we're going to have one more Mishnah at the end, and then on Tuesday, hopefully, Yom Gimel will start Metzia Hashem Perik Gimel, the third Perik, Metzia Hashem. Says the Heilige Mishnah. Excuse me, says the Gemara. Teda the Tzar Ba'alechaim lav d'oraisa. I'll try and prove to you now that Tzar Ba'alechaim is not the oraisa. How do you know that? Says the Gemara. Yeah, it's only the Rabbanon, and there is no obligation, or I would say the obligation to help your friend with his sagging animal is not because of the animal, because there is no chiyuv to help the animal with oraisa. How do you know that? Dektani, it says in the Reisha of the Mishnah. Let's say the client, the person that needs help, the owner of the animal that is, not dealing with his animal that's sagging under the burden, he sits down, coffee in hand and smartphone in hand, and he tells the helper, it's your mitzvah to unload. So unload, okay. Yeah, you be my friar, you be my servant, you do the work while I do and just have my coffee for no apparent reason. Potu, then you are exempt from helping him. Somebody who doesn't want to help himself, we don't help him. How do we know that? Shenema, it says in the pasuk, Imoy, azov tazov, Imoy. You have to help him together with himself. Help us, help you. But don't exploit the good heart and the halachic obligations of other people. Wait a second. Now, it makes a lot of sense that this guy, excuse my language, behaves like a skunk, so I don't have to help him. But what about the animal? Poor animal. Frag the Gemara, what do you want from the poor animal? If you want to tell me Tzar Ba'alechaim is the concept d'oraisa and Evchiv d'oraisa to avoid, and prevent suffering from animals, even of my friend Midoraisa. If so, Mali Isra Mali Ba'adei, who cares if the owner is there with him, helping him, being involved, right? In other words, if the owner is not there, or he's there but he's not there, he's not being helpful, who cares? The Ma'aseh is the Tzar Ba'alechaim. Yeah, you're getting into like a power kivyochel, the power struggle with the owner, poor animal. Elamai, what do you see? Elamai, you see the Tzar Ba'alechaim is not the Oraisa, right? In other words, you always, whenever we talk about Prika, especially in Prika, it could be also Te'ina, you always have to have two parallel lines of thought that you think of, the person and the animal. So the person here does not deserve help. He's exploiting your good heart, and that such a person shouldn't be helped. Secondly, what about the animal? Oh, you see, we don't care about the animal. Yeah, the guy just, you help me. You just drive by. Yeah, why? What about the animal? Elamai must be. From here, I can prove to you that there is no tzar b'alechaim d'oraisa, right? We see that it just doesn't exist. Answers the Gemara, no. The Gemara now rejects that attempt to prove it's not d'oraisa and says, "L'olam really tzar b'alechaim d'oraisa." Really, tzar b'alechaim is d'oraisa. Yes, it is d'oraisa. If it's d'oraisa and you have to prevent the suffering from the animal, how do you let the animal suffer? Says the Gemara, no, you misunderstood the word exempt. Misovers potu legamre. When we said that it's exempt, who the helper doesn't have to help you, you thought it means completely. The guy starts exploiting you. You say goodbye. I don't want to help you. No, Dilma possibly we erase the vov by the way, the right girsa. Dilma may be potur bechinam b'chayv b'sachar. No, you're exempt from doing prika, from unloading for free, which you usually are mechuyev b'chayv b'sachar. You do have to do it, but not the full chiyuv, which is helping your friend unload for free. You're allowed to do it, and you should do it, and obligated to do it for money, for being compensated. The line starts with the word rachmana, and it's about 10 or less lines from the bottom of the narrow lines. 1 minute. Yeah, you have it? Go from narrow lines. Rachmana, 1 second. That's what the Torah says. That's the rachmana. That's what Hashem says. This is summarizing the way the Gemara understands at that point what you should or shouldn't do. How much does your obligation, how far does it go? If the person is nice and friendly, maybe not friendly, but helpful, meaning the person who needs the help is also involved in helping himself and helping the animal of Gabei Bechinam. Remember Rab Shimon and Rabbanon? Everyone agrees, Rab Shimon and Chachomim, they all agree that Prika, either because of Tzar B'Chaim or other reasons, and Chinami, it's for free. Yeah, you do it for free. However, if the owner is not there, meaning he's there, but he's laughing in your face, saying, "How you do it all on your own? I'm not your friar. He's the one who needs help." Yeah, Ovad Gabei b'Sachar. You still are obligated to do it for money. Why are you obligated to do it for money? You're mechuyev to help him, not because we want to help him. He doesn't really deserve help, but you want to help him because the Torah does demand that you prevent the suffering of the animal. That's why. But to avoid Ba'atzar B'Alcham D'Oraisa, at this point, the story is not yet over, but at this point, that's how the Gemara learns the story of Tzar B'Alcham D'Oraisa. Again, in other words, you could also say the other way. We didn't prove the other way. We just suggested two things. We could say that if the guy behaves like a skunk, the owner, then I don't have to help him at all. What about the animal? I don't care as much about the animal. It's only the Rabbanon. Or you can say it's the D'Oraisa, and I do have to help him, but he will be obligated to pay me money. And if he doesn't, I'll take him to Beis Din. I'll record it. I'll take a video, whatever. I'll make sure that he pays me at the end of the day. Simon, Bemis, and Ravtzan. Yes, quick time for questions. You good? Yeah. We're after the brackets, the parentheses. Yeah. Commercial. Yeah. Regarding payment or after the brackets. Yeah. Let's help Rava. Let us bring a proof for Rava that said what? That's the Raisa. Rava was the opening shot of the Sugya, and he said that really it is the Oraisa. Let's try and bring him help. Where was Tim McKenzie all these years? Yeah. Do you know what Tim McKenzie does now? He's actually a donkey driver. He moved to Tunisia. Okay, now this guy, what happens when a guy, let's say not say guy, more politically correct, idol worshiper. Okay, let's say a person who's definitely somebody that we're not mechuyev to help normally, halachically, idol worshiper. What does it say about him? Well, he's also stuck on the road, and his animal is sagging. Abdul, not Mackenzie. Abdul's animal is sagging under its weight, and what's going on? You have to give it the same kind of help you'd give Behema of Chaim Yankov of the Israel. Same thing, very nice, very pluralistic, very humanistic. Why is that really? Why do you have to help a goy as much as help a yid? Although usually in halacha, the help we're supposed to offer goyim is definitely not as much as we're supposed to help yidden, no question. And here all of a sudden we see that they have to help the goy equally as you'd help Israel. Very good. If you say that the focus of attention is the animal, who cares if it's a Goyish animal or a Jewish animal? Yeah, At the end of the day, the animal suffers. Mishumachi, because of that, metapel baki be'emes Yisrael. Makes sense. I don't care about the owner. Sounds so nice and pluralistic. Animals don't know about different races and nations. Such a nice byline for animal rights. But unless it's true, who cares if the animal belongs to a goyer? I understand why I have to help the animal. Could be a Russia. Lemaisa, the behemoth suffers. And first wide line. If you say the Tzar Bar L'chaim is not the Raisa, only the Rabbanon, and the Rosh says if it's the Rabbanon means that in this scenario I don't have to help it and go out of my way to help another person. If so, amai metapel bo be'emes Yisrael. Why do you have to help an animal of a goy like Yisrael? Again, think of two variations here, not variations of two not variants, no, x and a y, two variables. Thank you. Two variables in the equation. We always have to keep in mind the person and the animal. If you say Tzar Bar L'chaim is just not there in this scenario because it's the Rabbanon, the animal I don't care about as much. If you have time, better, yeah. And if the person is Abdul Mahmoud, the guy's half a terrorist, then why do you have to help? Where did it come from? And says the Gemara, Hossam over there, no. Mishum Eva. Oh, we all know that we have to keep good relationship with the Goyim because of Eva. Although the guys in Evet Kachavim want to avoid Eva, which is animosity, because we want to be on the good terms, so they don't say, oh, those Jews don't help us when we need them, to hello the donkey. We want to prevent anti-Semitism as much as we can. And therefore, we say, that's it. That's why you have to help him. Okay, makes sense. So it's not because of the animal. I want to help the guy to maintain decent relationship with the goyim and avoid animosity, so there won't be any anti-Semitism in the world. Wow, ever. No. Achinami, like in America today, there is no. That's how United Nations love us, and in America there's no anti-Semitism whatsoever. Achinami mistabra. And so it is likely, and I'll prove my point, says the Gemara, that the idea of helping a guy is because of Eva. Why? And here, what I'm going to tell you now is the Gemara according to explanation of the Ritva, which I was very, very happy to see. It says as follows: Im yain osu, comma, ein zokuklo. Let's say, Mackenzie, carries with him not socks or shoes or computers. He carries on his donkey wine. And guess what? Mackenzie's wine is not kosher. Either it's a yain of real of a Zora, or it's just regular yain nesach, which is regular wine, not with a hechsher, made by Mackenzie and McKinley and their families, and therefore, if that's what he's carrying on the donkey's back, and the donkey's sagging, by the way, all the time we're talking, and it's good you mentioned, we're talking all the time about prika. The animal is miskina, sagging and falling and about to maybe even die, and you quickly, salvage it, you save it, you're the superhero, you take everything off. If it's yain osir, if what the animal is carrying is stuff that's forbidden for us Jews to drink and adds the ritzvah, listen to this, Rabbi Isaac, because that was the missing link which Machavrus and I, you're not allowed to even help, so to speak, the existence of goyish wine in the world, even the regular goyish wine. I'm not saying halacha l'maisa here; it's not a shir halacha, but this is what's implied over here. So if Mackenzie and his animal, and I feel bad for both, both of them, l'maisa, for me to unload and help him with the process of getting the treifa wine from X to B, even though he's selling it only for goyim, I'm not allowed to help, to sort of assist the existence of that wine, and therefore, ein zokuk. That Isra though it's the Rabbanon. In other words, for me to help a goy, schlep his non-kosher wine to his store through the donkey, ein zokuk. I don't have to help him. Oh, okay. Says the Gemara, I'll prove to you now that really the only reason why I would have to help him, let's say he was carrying something kosher. Let's say he would be carrying something very inane, I don't know, black socks, everyone can wear them, no problem. Then it's only the Rabbanon, in order to avoid Eva, not because of the animal and not because of helping him for him. It's only to maintain decent relationship. And I'll prove it to you. If you said that the chiyuv to help a guy is not the oraisa at all. In other words, I don't have to help him as a person. I don't have to help the animal because we do not believe that it is what? That it is, there's the oraisa over here. Yeah, very good. That makes sense. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, we just turned the tables. We were pro Rava. We're not Parv now. We're now against Rava. We're saying the only reason that you help the guy is only because why? Because it is the chiyuv derabanan of maintaining good relationship with the goyim. You don't want to mess up with Mackenzie and McKinley. They give you big smiles today. Tomorrow they'll be part of an anti-Semitic rally as it happens. Well, give me. It makes sense that once the whole idea is Ava, which is a Darabanon, when it comes to trade for wine, I don't have to help him. Says Rashi, you know why? Because even Mackenzie, like it is today, you can tell him, says Rashi, based on the Gemara of the Zohar, I'm sorry, Tim, I really like you, but it's against my religious beliefs to do that. And the guy is supposed to understand that. For us, it's forbidden. Yeah, right. You tell a decent American, a decent Englishman, really, Tim, really, John Smith, I'd like to help you start your car on Saturday, but for us, it's a very holy day. Maybe I'll try another way. It can be nice. That's my religious beliefs. People are supposed to understand that. Yeah. Unless it's a high court in America, maybe it's different already. Lemaisa, everything. Very good. So now it makes a lot of sense. Now listen carefully. Since you tell me the whole chiyuv is derabanan to help the goy, another chiyuv derabanan of what? Of unloading and helping goy wine, one against the other, makes sense. Yeah. One derabanan kills, so to speak, another derabanan. And my chiyuv derabanan of what? My ister derabanan, excuse me, of not helping the trade for wine overrides the chiyuv of Ava, especially since I can patch it up. Ela yomar deoraisa, continues the Gemara. But if you tell me that there is really a chiyuv deoraisa of what? Of helping the animal, we're against Rava now. We're against, so to speak, we're not against animal rights, yeah, but we're saying it's only the Rabbanon. There is no chiyuv deraisa to help the animal. Had it been deraisa, like you're saying, a chiyuv deraisa to help the animal, am I in zokuklo? Yeah, why not? Why do you say ein zokuklo? Why not? Who cares that it's straight for wine? The chiyuv deraisa of helping an animal should be stronger than the iser derabanon of not helping goyish wine exist in the world. Get it? Elamai must be that yeah, achika omar ulatin yain osir. Yeah. In other words, really. Oh, now we're trying to. Excuse me. No, the achikomer is a new. No. Before the achikomer, excuse me. I'm running. I'm jumping the gun. So far we're trying to say, really, it's a chiyuv the rabbanon. There's no chiyuv the oraisa. Had it been a chiyuv the oraisa, yeah, really. Had it been a chiyuv the oraisa, I was supposed to help him always because it's the oraisa. Yeah. What overrides what? The rice is more important. Must be the chiyuv to help an animal is only the rabbanon, and therefore doesn't exist here. Says the Gemara, hachikomer latina yain osu ein zokuklo. Yeah, look at latina yain osu ein zokuklo. Ellen. What did we just say? And it's nice that you brought it to my attention before. Latina yain osu ein zokuklo. Up until now, we assumed all the time from the beginning of Shir till this very happy second ago, we always understood that we're talking here about an animal suffering, right? And we had the back and forth, the Raisa, the Rabbanon, what is my level of chiyuv to help the animal? And at the moment, right before the answer, what did we say? Hey, look, you see that the animal is suffering, and you are, because of not helping a goy who exist, which is the Rabbanon, the Raisa, must be wrong. There is no chiyuv the Raisa of helping the animals. Says the Gemara, bling, bling, bling. You know that Te'ina has a first cousin or a sister called what? Excuse me, Prika, which we spoke about till now, has a sister called what? Called Te'ina. Te'ina, which is loading, not uploading, but loading or reloading or whatever you want to call it, yeah, that there is the animal there doesn't suffer as much. It's true that the Ritva mentioned it suffers a little bit when it's not being set nicely and well, but it's not considered the animal right now is not suffering. The animal prefers probably not to have the load on its back. So Lemaisa says Rava, or whoever defends Rava now says no. Really, Tsar Ba'alechaim D'Oraisa. And when it comes to Prika, you always undo. Mahmoud, trade for wine, unless it's Mamishas D'Oraisa, maybe, I don't know, but you always really help the animal, unload that's D'Oraisa to help it not suffer, prevent the suffering, always. You bringing me this ganze store with Mahmoud and Mackenzie and trade for wine? No, that spoke there about te'ina. Ay, 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 ay. In te'ina, the animal doesn't suffer. Therefore, the animal suffering is automatically out of the equation, never was in the equation. Because te'ina, to load the animal, is not in order to avoid suffering, not at all. And therefore, there we begin the whole discussion of, yes, helping a guy, not helping a guy, only because of Eva. But if it's straight for wine, then there's no Eva. All very nice. That's only when it's te'ina. But the Frika, no, says Rova. I stand by what I say. Frika, which is avoiding suffering from animal, that would trump anything else in the equation. That's what Rava says now. Zumi's not happy. Maybe I'm listening to. No, he's been waiting for a very long time. Is Rabbi Yaakov, and then Oshma. Now the next issue is going to be again trying to prove Tsar Balacham the rights of the Rabbanon. And now what happens when it's a mixed story? Yeah, the one carrying the animal is the camel driver, the donkey driver belongs to one religion, and the animal to another religion. What does that mean? Behema Savid Kachovim, the behema belongs to Mackenzie. Umasu Yisrael. Oh, we're not saying now who is the driver, actually. Behema belongs to Ovid Kachovim, to a idol worshiper. Masa belongs to Israel. The burden, belongs to Israel. And you know it. You live in the village, you're a big yachna, you know who owns what, and you know that the animal belongs to a goy, and the burden belongs to Israel. In that case, the chodalta. Oh, welcome to the new word mentioned in the Torah, which I don't think I emphasized before. It says in the Torah, a bit like the alamta. The chodalta ma'azoiv loy. The chodalta means you'll stop, you'll cease, you'll prevent yourself. Yeah? The chodalta, shall you stop helping him? As if no, don't stop. Don't prevent yourself from helping him. Don't deter yourself from helping him, but rather help him. But if you learn the word v'chadalta alone, yeah, v'chadalta means you should stop. You should not do it. How do they translate v'chadalta? You should v'chadalta. You should refrain. That's a better word, right? Very good. Oh, yeah, refrain. Do refrain from helping him. Sometimes the drosha is in the drash level. You refrain from helping people that have the donkey stuck there on the road sagging. What's going on? Why? Bechodalta, because why? Lemaisa, the behemoth belongs to a goy. The masa belongs to Israel, right? Let's assume we're talking here about prika, which means what? The whole thing is sagging. The animal's going to die. Everything's going to fall. It's going to be a whole mess. Help it. No, I'm not supposed to help it. Why? Because the behemoth belongs to a goy. Oh, as a goyish behemoth, the behemoth belongs to Abdul, and the behemoth is the one suffering Lamaisa, right? The behemoth is going to break its back. Abdul's behemoth, I don't have to take care of. Very similar to before, right? If you want to tell me Tzar Belcham Doraisa, you Rava, you tell me Tzar Belcham is Doraisa. Am I v'chadalta? Why? Why should we stop? The animal, who cares? The animal belongs to a goy. Lamaisa, it should have been azoiv ta'azoiv mi boilei, right? It should be do help him. In other words, in this case, don't employ and apply the word v'chadalta refrain, and you should employ the word help, as of tazoiv. The animal suffering, who cares if it belongs to a goy or a Jew? Answers the Gemara, oh, really tzar b'cham d'oraisa, answers Rava. By the way, who wanted to know if what's the halacha d'oraisa d'rabbanan? We know from here there's a letter. You see there's a small letter by the word le'olam tzar b'cham d'oraisa. The letter is ches or hey. That shows us that that's halacha according to Rambam and Shulchan Aruch. So it's the oraisa, right? That takes us to the earmark in the corner, to the footnote, that it's the halacha is usually where the small letter is. So how do you explain not helping the goyish animal? Same answer. We're not talking over here about prika, which is clear, evident tsar b'alechaim. We're talking about loading. To load the animal, you're not helping the animal at all. You're only helping the owner of the animal. Helping the owner of the animal, then what? Then there's no Indian to help the animal of a goy who's not suffering. The owner is the goy. The animal is having great time without the burden. Who are you helping over here? If so, wait a second. If so, aim a seifa. The seifa of the same brisa which we're quoting has the exact mirror image, opposite case. Behemoth Israel, just the opposite. Behema belongs to the Yid. Behema belongs to Chaim Yankel. You know, the Behema has a sign in it, chaimyankelbehemoth.com. Umasu Ovid Kachovim. And you know that the burden belongs to Goy, and the Behema belongs to Israel. As of Tazov, then you should help him. Help him. If you're talking about Te'ina, what are we talking about over here? What's te'ina? The animal is not suffering. Who owns the burden in this very, very last case we're talking about now? Mahmoud Abdul Mackenzie. So why are you helping? Amazov Tazov. Why are you helping? The Bema is not suffering at all. It's te'ina. You, Rava, want to tell me it's te'ina? Let's run with you, Rava. The animals are not suffering. They're having great time with or without the burden. They're not suffering at all. Now, the burden itself belongs to Mackenzie. Why should I help Mackenzie's? I'm rushing to Daf Yomi Koilel to learn Torah, to listen to the Rav Shir. I don't need to help Mackenzie with his stuff, and the animal's not suffering. The burden belongs to Mek. Well, what's the story? And says the Gemara, Mishum Tsar Israel. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm tricking you over here because so far we didn't speak about the person who's carrying the animal. There are shlosha shutfim ba'adam. The animal belongs to someone, the burden belongs to someone, but he doesn't say the actual delivery boy, the donkey driver. So far didn't say outright who is he. Is he a Jew or a guy? Maybe he's an iRobot. He doesn't say who is. Maybe UFO. The Gemara now says Mishum Tzara Israel. We now in the Seifa when we say you have to help what the behema belonging to a Jew and the burden belonging to a goy, we assume now that the one carrying and is stuck, egg on his face, pants down, not knowing what to do, the actual one carrying is Israel, misken, the one who's actually stuck there by the side of the road with all the oranges falling all over and all the parcels and all the packages falling all over the place, and he needs physical help, which is the idea of te'ina, and he wants to save time, right? Because if you help him, it will take half the time. He's a soil. That's why you have to help him. He's the one who needs help. 1 second. Wait a second. So you're talking in both cases here that the one carrying is Israel? If so, okay. Now I got the identity of Mr. Carrier, Mr. Donkey Driver. If so, I feel Reisha Nami. So the Reisha also should help him. What was the Reisha? The Reisha was the opposite case. And we said you don't have to help a behema of a goy with a master of Israel. Goy behema and a master of Israel, carrying the burden belongs to Israel. You don't have to help. But if you tell me that the delivery boy, that the donkey driver is Israel, of course you have to help him. Who cares who he's carrying? And says the Gemara, no, Reisha bechamar ovid kechovim, Seifa bechamar Israel. We must say, and we don't know why, the Reisha talks about the chamar, the donkey driver, is a goy, so you don't have to help him. In the Seifa, the Israel is the donkey driver, you have to help him. My postak, who told you? Why are you poisek? Why are you cutting this with a knife, so to speak? And he decided that the Reisha is this and the Seifa is that. And says the Gemara, very easy. Stama de milsa. Stama de milsa means usually the stam, the assumed situation. The assumed situation is inish basar chamre ozil. Very good. The person who carries the animal, meaning if an animal belongs to X and the burden to Y, usually the person carrying it is the owner of the donkey, not the burden. Yeah, a taxi driver, truck drivers, what do they carry? They are the owners or work for the company of the trucks, right? They don't own the stuff that's in the truck. It belongs to Tnuva or Strauss or Zara or whoever, right? In other words, even today. In other words, the one who owns the donkey is usually the one carrying the donkey, not the one who owns the burden. He's not the one carrying the donkey. And therefore, that's very good. Because in the Reisha, the behema was goyish, and so is the person who's carrying it. So you have no chiv to help. In the Seifa, the behema, that is statement for that it says outright. And so in the Seifa, it says outright that the behema belongs to a yid. So we assume the one carrying it is a yid. And therefore, that's all we care about. So again, let's summarize. Says Rava, again, the same story. Rava is getting out of trouble again and again. Don't tell me that we're not helping suffering animals, or yes, helping suffering animals. The whole story here is about te'ina. Te'ina, there's no animal suffering. It's out of the picture. It's out of the story. The animal's not as much to define it as halachic tzar ba'alechaim, right? And therefore, in that situation, I only care about the person. I don't care about the burden. I care about the person. The person that is there, all lost and all, out of his, whatever, matzav. So such a person, you have to help him if he's a guy. Maybe it would be nice. Maybe also Ava, but it's not as bad, then you can drive by. Okay. I'm listening. I'm listening to your question. I just want to clarify the mitzvah of te'ina does focus on the person carrying the animal. The donkey driver, the camel driver, or the driver of the car could possibly be too. In other words, the mitzvah of te'ina means that you have to help the person who's not necessarily the owner of the donkey, not necessarily the owner of the merchandise either. He's the one who's who's schlepping with him, who's pulling the animal, and he's in charge of the animal and the burden. And when everything falls apart, when everything falls and scattered on the floor, and he's helpless and lonely and helpless, and he's you help him begufay. It's a mitzvah not about his money so much. It's about the fact that to do it all on his own is much harder. Yeah, and therefore we do focus on him here. If he's a yid, you have to help him. Over the kachavim, no. If you have time, not necessarily. Don't miss year for that. I'm listening. Yaakov. Okay. Now, okay. Zog the Gemara. Now the Gemara, unfortunately, rejects all that. Frag the Gemara v'chadalto v'azoiv ta'azoiv bepriko deksivi. Oy 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 oy. We built such a nice building. Then the Gemara says, "Excuse me, the words v'chadalto, which was mentioned in the Brisa as that sometimes you don't help the person, and you rather wanted to tell me it speaks about te'ina is not true. It talks about prika. In other words, the words v'chadalto, that word appears in the parsha of prika." Of yes, Tsar Ba'alechaim. So now that does make sense. We see clearly that although we're talking about Prika, where Tsar Ba'alechaim is strong and evident, yeah, kicking and screaming, there is Tsar Ba'alechaim, and yet we see that you don't help the animal. So you see Tsar Ba'alechaim is not Doraisa. Now Rava has to use the help of a different Tana. Omer Lei says, Rove, Mani, you know who's the author of this Brisa? Must be it's Rabbi Yossi Glili. Remember Rabbi Yossi Glili? He's always of the opinion the Omar Tzar Ba'alechaim lav doraisa, full stop. Must be this Brisa follows Rabbi Yossi Glili. Again, let's remember the different opinions of the Mishnah. The Mishnah at the very end mentioned the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Glili that said that if the owner of the animal and the burden, let's say it's all one guy, is a yid and everything was good, but the guy overloaded, Yishlemazel, he put too much stuff on his animal, and therefore it's not called maso oi. It's not the burden that's appropriate for the animal. It's too much. It was exceeding the amount. Then I don't have to help him if it falls apart. The animal suffering, says the basic clearly. I'm not saying I don't care. I don't believe Tzar Ba'alechaim is Doraisa. I don't think this parsha has to do Tzar Ba'alechaim. It's the Rabbanon. So you're not allowed to suffer, to cause your own animal to suffer. You don't have to take care of other people's animals. Must be this Brisa follows Rabbi Yossi Glili, whom everyone agrees does not believe Tzar Ba'alechaim Doraisa. Which means, let's not get confused here, because I know sometimes people in this year get confused Tanoim and Meroim. Machlokas Tanoim is what? Clearly Rabbi Yossi Glili, the Tana, says what? Tzar Ba'alechaim, not Doraisa. He's not from the RSCCPA, whatever you call it. That's not Rabbi Yossi Glili. Does Tanakama believe Tzar Ba'alechaim Doraisa, yes or no? Depends who you ask. Says Rava, you guys have been brainwashed seriously by Rava. Says Rava, yes. Tanakama says Rava believes Tzar Ba'alechaim Doraisa, and Rava is being challenged by other people who may think otherwise, right? But everyone agrees that Rabbi Yossi Glili, all Amoraim believe that the Tana Rabbi Yossi Glili believes Tzar Ba'alechaim is Lav Doraisa. So when Rava has no choice, Rava says, you know what, yeah, I can see there's a Bryce here that says black and white, there's no Tzar Ba'alechaim Doraisa. Must be this Bryce that follows Rabbi Yossi Glili, whom even I agree is only the Rabbanon Tzar Ba'alechaim. Toshma. Now we're coming to bring another factor into the story. If you remember, when the Torah describes the situation of prika, the obligation to help your friend to unload the burden from his animal who's suffering, and he's suffering, and everyone's suffering and losing. It doesn't say the word friend. It says you see your enemy's animal sagging under its burden, then you have to help him. Why do you have to help your enemy? So we're going to see a very beautiful, interesting Tosfos. Yeah. Lamaisa, let's assume for now, although I'm going to change it for later. Later we're going to change but generally speaking, unfortunately, let's say there's a guy who you know, science fiction, there's a guy whom you just don't like. You know, it happens to the best of us. You really don't like the guy, and you're rushing to work to Kolo to wherever, and you see the guy really, really stuck there. You know, I'm not saying it applies to cars, it doesn't apply to car. The guy is a donkey driver, you think he's a donkey himself, which is really not nice, and you're trying to be over in your midas, and it's not nice to say the person is a donkey. It's terrible. But Lamaisa says the Torah, oh, you see that guy which you don't like, that guy, dafka, you have to help him. Yeah, be over in your midos, work on your midos. Yeah, overcome your ego. It's really not nice that 2 years ago he blocked your mirpeset above your house or something, whatever. But Lamaisa, now be nice to him and help him. Okay, Toshma. Now we come to a very typical moral dilemma. Oh, that could be very nice in a movie. I have Lifroik. You're driving down Kvish 10 or Shloishim Veshmoine, and you see two scenarios at the same time, both sides of the road. One, you see your best friend. He's a buddy. This guy I like, and he needs prika. The one you see a person who you like, a friend, yeah, and he needs prika. His animal is sagging, and you need to unload. The soine litoin. Now the soine, right there on the other side of the road, you see a soine, you see a guy, that guy who you really don't like, and what do you need to do? You have to help him load. His donkey already, his stuff, not the donkey, fell all over the floor, and you need to help him. Where should I go first? Who do I go first? Yeah. Do I help? In one place, I have an animal suffering, and the animal that's suffering belongs to my friend. The animal that is not suffering, the animal is having a nice time, belongs to that piece of work. So now, who do I go to first? And I may not even be able to help the other one at all. Mitzvah besoine kidilokofesitzoi. Wow. You have to actually what? Help the person you don't like to overcome your bad midos. Because hatred is a bad thing. Yes, yes, yes. And you dafka have to help the guy who kicked your daughter out of school or whatever he did to you. I don't know. And what? You dafka have to help him to be over the yetzer. Wait a second. Hey, what about the animal? Ooh. The animal is the one who you do like, whom you're not helping. They're the animal suffering. The guy you don't like, in other words, we care about the Avodas Hamidos more than the animal suffering. If you tell me it's mitzvah doraisa, with all the respect to Avodas Hamidos, any normal, Litvish person will tell you, halacha is before Avodas Hamidos. You're gonna write a cheshbon and nefesh on Shabbos. Let's make a cheshbon and nefesh diary. Yeah, on Shabbos. Yeah, in other words, what's going on here? Must be what? The tzar balacham is not the oraisa. That's why Avodas Hamidos comes first. Because must be tzar balacham is not in the equation. It's not on the table here. Ha'odiflei. Yeah, of course, tzar balacham the oraisa would be better. Says the Gemara, no. Wow. Says the Gemara, no. This is not like writing cheshbon and nefesh on Shabbos. When the Torah itself told you that you have to work on your midas, it's embedded in halacha because it's not an example brought down by Kiva Tachtal. I know I have sometimes funny examples. The Torah gave the example of what? Of your enemy's donkey suffering, right? And therefore, it's embedded in the mitzvah. Part of the mitzvah is to overcome your hatred towards the other guy, even in the expense of another Doraisa issue of Tzar Balechaim, which means Rava is back on the horse now, excuse the pun, yeah? And Rava says what? Rava says, I believe Tzar Balechaim Doraisa. Why do you tend first to your the enemy's animal who's not suffering before the animal of the friend who is suffering? Yes, because here, Avodas Hamidos is part of halacha, integral part of the mitzvah, and it overrides the other part of the mitzvah, which is tzar b'alechaim. There are three factors here. There's animal suffering, there is helping a person, and there's avodas hamidos to help the person whom you like the least. Wow. Beautiful thesis, which is both here and more detailed in Psachim, and I'm going out of North Korea now myself, and the thesis asks the following question. I gave you an example of a person who you don't like. Why don't you like someone? Because I don't know, whatever. He screamed at you once in the middle of the street. So then, he litters the street all the time. I don't know what he does. Lamaisa, now, Frek Toisves in the Gemara in Psachim, Daf Kuf Yud Gimel, I'm sorry. The Gemara in Psachim, Daf Kuf Yud Gimel, Amud Beis says that the scenario that we talk about here, you're not allowed to hate anybody in Israel. You have to be over the midas. You're not supposed to hate a person who did even terrible things to you. Up to a point, almost never, you should never hate another Jew. You should understand it's all from Hashem, work on it, do your internal work. You're not on, all very nice. Who are you allowed to hate then? Who is that hatey that you talk about over here, the Torah doesn't talk about the Rishoim. The Torah assumes that we all keep the mitzvahs. So who is that soine? Says the Gemara over there, it's a person whom you saw doing a terrible avera, such as an avera to do with how do you say morality, immorality. You saw him with a woman. You saw something. You saw him entering a seedy club in East London. I don't know wherever. Yeah, and mamish dvar avera. You saw it alone, so you can't go to Beis Din and be made so they should do anything. You can't testify; it's just you. Says the Gemara there, it's a machlokes. One opinion says mitzvah lisnoisoi. A person who you clearly saw doing it varavera. You saw him going with an eshes ish lo leinu. Mamish for sure, no question. You saw it with your own eyes. You're allowed to hate him, and it's a mitzvah to hate him according to some. Frek says, wait a second. If that's the guy, and I'm still supposed to help him, wow. But Frek says, okay, I can understand that even though it's a Balavera, since Beis Din didn't label him as such, and it's only you and him, you're the only one and only witness there, you're still supposed to help him. But where's Avodah Samidus? Says Tosfos, Avodah Samidus? Why should I help him first? I know a guy is a very fine, refined person, is not a Balavera, and his animal is suffering. I have to be over the Midas and help that piece of skunk. He wears a black kippah and a hat in shul, and I know that he's molesting chasholom people. That can happen, yeah. So I'm supposed to help him. Mapitam says this is unbelievable rule in psychology. He says, quoting King Solomon, the wisest of all men. He says, How do you say it in English? As the water, Bekitza, what you think of others, they think of you. I don't know the fancy sentence, which I have to ask my wife really. In other words, the way you feel about other people reflects back from them to you. Yeah, in other words, how you feel about someone eventually people read each other's faces and feelings, Some people are good fakers, maybe, but I'm saying, and therefore, listen to this. Says Tosfos, if you don't help him, and you have every right to not help him, because the guy is a real Balavera, he will hate you. Now, he doesn't know that you know. He'll see you being unfriendly to him. He'll be unfriendly to you for no apparent reason, right? Because you're a good guy. And then both of you are going to hate each other on a personal level, not just because of the Avera. If you only hate him because of the Avera, that's a mitzvah. But when it gets personal and you hate his guts just because you hate him, and that will be flared up by you not helping him, that you should avoid. And that's about the Samidus. So the guy's an Avera, and it's a mitzvah to hate him. You still have to help him because you want to contain that hatred to the halachic confinement of hating Lidvar mitzvah. I'm hating all because the guy's a Baal Avera. Once I don't help him, it's gonna, get out of control. It will become a personal thing, not because of him doing an Avera. It's just gonna become a regular row. That we want to avoid. Tighter. That's in Psochim.
That's well and good if the other person doesn't know that you hate him. But if the other person, the enemy, has done a Avera towards
let's say he knows that it's because of that. Maybe he still expects help. I don't know. Maybe then he's still expecting. So what? He did a Avera. I deserve to be helped. I don't know. It's a good question. Sunday, I don't know any answer. Yes? Here, Tosfos says something else you don't understand. I quoted Tosfos in Psochim. Tosfos over here, I wish I had time, but I don't. Tosfos here, Mechavrus had very schwer, and we're not going there. Tosfos in Psochim says what I said. It's a beautiful yisoid and a clear answer. That's why I answer. Tosfos here, if you want to have a quick chat here, I'll be very happy to hear you. But otherwise, I'm not going to Tosfos here on purpose. Yeah. Last but not least, today we're entering North Korea after this question. Buckle up, buses, yeah. Okay, yeah. Weiter. Okay, Toshma. Back to the Kachovim business. Third line from the bottom of the page, Lamed Beis, Amud Beis. Why do we call this page Lamed Beis? Lev, have heart, good heart to the animals. Toshma, Soine Shomru, that enemy that we spoke about, that the Torah refers to, you have to help your enemy, even though he's your enemy, and you have to help him first. Soine Israel. That means Soine Israel in the Semite. Soine, who is Israel? Let's say you really, really don't like Ham Yankel because he wears the Shabbos Bekitshe Stramel Hasidische. He lives in New York, and you know that he goes to a house of whatever, yeah, ill repute, and you hate his guts, and you're allowed to, and maybe even a mitzvah. That's the guy we speak about. You still help him when he's stuck with his donkey. The law is Kachovim, but if it's a guy whom you don't like Tim McKenzie for many reasons, him you don't have to help. Again, the same question. If it says Tzar Balacham is Doraisa, who cares who the owner? The animal suffering. And if the animal is the focus here, and Tzar Balacham is Doraisa, like you say, Rava, then who cares about the identity of the owner? The animal suffering must be not like you, must be the Rabbanon. Answers the Gemara, Mi Sovas Asoine the Kro. You think the Soine that we talk about over here is the Soine of the Pasuk, which means when the Pasuk spoke about Soine, as I told you before carefully, it speaks about a person whose animal is suffering, sagging under, and you have to quickly unload. That's not the Soine we're talking about over here. I studied the Masnisin Koi. We speak about the son of the Masnisin we spoke about before, which is Te'ina. Rava is back to running to the other option always of Te'ina. The Soina, who is a Goy, if you don't like Mackenzie, you have no Indian to help him whatsoever. You know when you're not supposed to help him? When his animal is not suffering, because then X and Y out of the picture. The animal is having a great time frolicking around without the burden. Better. The guy is Tim McKenzie was always shouting, "You dirty Jew!" So then, who do you have to help? Nobody. But Enochinami says Rava, if the animal would be an animal that's suffering and it's prika that's required to unload, then even if Mackenzie shouts "dirty Jew," you still have to help him to help his poor animal. Toshma. Oh, now we come Lamed Gimel Amudale. Whoopa! Lamed Gimel Amudale. If he ran away, Lamed Gimel Amudale the first line. Lamed Gimel Amudale today's page. Now the Gemara is going to basically analyze the pasuk of the Torah and exclude all kinds of cases in which you don't have to have the person. Roivetz, yeah, roivetz, kitir chamar sonecha roivetz, sagging, crouching, help him. Says the Gemara, roivetz beloy ravtzan, not an animal that always has the tendency to always fall again and again and again, which means if the animal is a type of animal, says Rashi, harogil bekach, it always falls. Whenever you put the burden on it, it's an animal that's just not good for cargo. The poor guy, always puts the burden on the wrong animal. You don't have to help that animal. Roivetz veloy oimed. Yeah. Let's say the animal is crouching, says the Torah, roivetz, you have to help him. But let's say the animal stands. The animal is stubborn. It looks like the animal is suffering, doesn't like the burden, but it didn't crouch, it didn't sag. It's standing like a donkey, like a mule. It's stubborn. Then you don't have to help him. Tachas masoy veloy mefurak. Only if it's sagging under the burden, but if the burden already fell on the floor, you don't have to help it. That's a big kiddush. Why? Because of course you have to help it. That's te'ina. We'll leave that question for later. Continues the Gemara to read the pasuk and take and deduce and deduct all kinds of things. Tachas maso oi, under its burden, like Rabbi Yossi Galili says, masu shechel amud boi. Only if it's a masu that the animal can lechatchila, hold, can handle. But if the person overloaded it, you don't have to help him. That's opinion of Rabbi Yossi Galili. Now, all these, in many of these cases, the animal suffering. Frag the Gemara against Rava. Doraisa would challenge you, and if you want to tell me Tzar Balcham is Doraisa, who cares about all these things? Who cares if the animal he always sags misken? The animal always happens to not manage. All the more so you have to help it. If the animal is standing there stubbornly because just can't take it anymore, of course you have to help him. Why don't you help him? Elamai must be that Tzar Balacham is the Rabbanon. That's why you don't have to help the other person's animal. And says Gemara, again, we run away to Rabbi Yossi Glili. What did he say? The Omar, Tzar Balacham the Rabbanon. Must be this opinion only follows, this brisa only follows the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Glili. It says Tzar Balacham the Rabbanon. Hachinami mistabra. And it's very likely, makes a lot of sense to allege Rabbi Yossi Glili to the brisa. The Ktani, because it says in the brisa, as I already told you, Tachas Maso'oi, Moshe Shechel Amud Boy. Oh, the brisa said the magic word, the magic letter, its burden, as opposed to a burden that's too much for it to begin with. Excuse 1 second. Man Shamas Ledisle Hai Svoro. Who's the one who believes in that svora? Who's the one who believes that concept that Maso'oi comes to exclude excessive baggage? Rabbi Yossi Glili. Shma Mina, it's Rabbi Yossi Glili. I'm sorry, no questions, still a few more lines. 1 minute. Yeah. Frag the Gemara. Okay, so far would be so good. Now, I just want to remind you, that there are three opinions in the Mishnah before we continue. We'll see a few more lines and then it will be question time. If you remember, there were two separate arguments in the Mishnah. Remember Rab Shimon and Rabbanon? What did Rab Shimon and Rabbanon argue about? Three things: kesef, money, and guilt. In what? When it comes to where? To te'ina. Yes? Rab Shimon holds you always have to do everything for free. Prika and te'ina. Chachamim say prika, animal suffering, you do it for free. Te'ina, you can ask for money. You can ask to be remunerated. Okay? Let's leave that on the side for now. Now, what was Machlokas basically in Rabbanan? Different Machlokas. Basically, doesn't believe in Tzar Ba'al Chayim D'Oraisa. The animal is clumsily taken care of. It's not my problem. He should call his friends and whatever. And Chachamim say, no. You always have to help the animal, regardless to the situation, to the exterior factors. If the animal suffers, you always have to help it. That's Rabbanan. So the two separate Machlokas in here. Now, frag the Gemara on what we just said. Can you really explain to me? Can you really explain that this brisa follows the opinion of Rabbi Glili? The brisa that says roivetz velo ravtzan, right? If the animal stands, or the animal is a chronic collapser, you don't help it. You want to tell me it's Rabbi Glili that says you don't help these animals? Baktani Seifa. The Seifa says, the Seifa, which we just read, and you raised an eyebrow, which I liked, the same brisa said in the middle, Tachas Masoy, Veloy Mefurach. The brisa says only if it's sagging under the thing, under the burden, but if the burden fell apart, fell on the floor, you don't have to help it. Yeah. My Eloy Mefurach, what are you talking about? What? Ilem Eloy Mefurach Klal. If you want to tell me that if the burden is all over, Mefurach, already unloaded in a bad way, scattered, falling apart, all over the place, you don't have to help it at all. Are you koifer? Aksiv. It says in the Torah outright. Hokim takim imoy. It says before in the Torah, mitzvah steina, that you have to help your friend when he needs to reload. Ela pshita must be the brisa meant what? Lo mefurak bechinam ela besachar. Must be what? The brisa wanted to talk like Chachamim against Rabbi Shimon. You don't have to help te'ina for free. Oh, you only do te'ina with money like Rabbanon and not like Rabbi Shimon. Man shamas le'de'is le'haisvara. Who is the opinion out of all three in the Mishnah that outright says you may ask for money when it comes to te'ina for various reasons? Rabbanon. So you see, Rabbanon are the ones who spoke, who are the authors of this brisa, and not Rabbi Yossi Glili, because Rabbi Yossi Glili, Rabbanon are the ones who said you help for money, right? So they're the ones. So Rabbanon at the same time also tell you don't have to help the animal when it's suffering. So you see even Rabbanon, that's very bad news for Rabba. You see even according to Rabbanon, Tzar Ba'al Chayim is only the Rabbanon. And says the Gemara, no. You notice what happens here? No, says the Gemara, Mapitom. There are two separate machlokesim on two separate issues, state and religion. Le'olam Rabbi Yossi Glili could be really the author of the brisa is Rabbi Yossi Glili. And when it comes to Tzar Ba'al Chayim, he's the sole Tana that holds no Tzar Ba'al Chayim Rabbi Yossi Glili. You're bringing into the discussion a separate discussion about what? About money. Ubete'ina for money, Savalak Rabbanon. Could be when it comes to taking money or not taking money, which is a separate discussion between him and Rabbi Shimon. Could be that over there he sides with Rabbanon against Rabbi Shimon and he thinks he can take money. Very good. So let's summarize. Really, this brisa has one and only author. It's Rabbi Yossi Glili. L'havdil of $5. You have a party, l'havdil. You know, in certain things, I think like right wing, and other things like left wing. That's Rabbi Yossi Glili. When it comes to Tzar Ba'al Chayim, he's the one. Said Tzar Ba'al Chayim is not the Raisa. Very nice. When it comes to money or not money, then Echnami could be he took sides. He sided with Rabbanon who say you take money. And Mimela, now he's a Brisa, no Tzar Ba'al Chayim. He has money. Beautiful. And that's basically, okay, I wanted to get the mission. We didn't get there. Very good. Question time. Now we're free and liberal, free speech, whatever you want, you can say. And Be'ezus Hashem, tomorrow we'll finish the parak. I really highly hope so. And I want to tell you also Halacha L'Maaseh, hopefully tomorrow a little bit from the Halacha. And now it's question time. Please, call to Batzlacha Rabbah to everybody at home.